Okay, here was my inspiration. This beautiful hollyhock, dried hollyhock. I love, 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 love the colors of it. These are the paints that I used. Burnt sienna, carbon black, and alizarin crimson. And I had to use cobalt because I didn't have any Payne's gray. It was at the studio. And titanium white. This was the color palette that I chose. And this was the painting. But I'm not totally feeling this color palette. So I'm gonna do it again using Payne's gray like I wanted to instead of cobalt blue, and see how that will change this palette. I'm going to lay out all my colors on this palette paper, and then I will mix them and put them on a regular sheet of paper so I can just see what they look like, and adding white helps to see how much blue I have, how much red I have. You add that white and it really helps to tell what's in there. And I will keep referring back to my hollyhock. I have it lying right next to me just to see if I'm on the right path, and if I need to be more green, more yellow, more red, whatever it is, it's nice to have it there to refer back to it, because Mother Nature made this gorgeous color palette for me already. I'm just trying to recreate it, and then I'll write down what I used. This is a great time to experiment because remember, we don't have to use all the colors we make. I really like the stem, so I'm trying to get the color of the stem correct. All right, so in recreating this color is not in here. So I'm taking artistic, what is it, Chad? I'm taking artistic license. Thank you. I'm digging all of this and that neutral. I'm getting rid of carbon black and burnt sienna. I'm not going to use those, so I'm going to stick with Indian yellow, Payne's gray, burnt umber, alizarin, and white. I like to lay out my palette, lay out the colors. When I say palette, I mean like this. This is my palette. These are the colors that I'm using. I like to get started and mix a bunch of colors up so I don't have to be thinking about that as I start to paint. I want my colors mixed, and I don't want to be guessing what I'm going to do. I want them right there. And in this case, I'm really starting out with the browns, the greens, like that stem color, because I really, really like the color of the stem, and some neutrals. And I'm using a big brush to just get paint on the paper. This is how I start my painting. Sometimes usually I write something, but sometimes I just get going, and I like to fill all the spaces in randomly with color. So I'll grab one of my big, kind of crappy, I think this was $1 brush. Maybe a little bit more because the bristles do stay on it, which is great. But I like this big, scruffy brush, and I'm just having fun painting and putting all these different colors together and kind of just seeing what they look like. And I really went for complementary reds and greens, just like that hollyhock is. It is complementary colors, which makes it so just beautiful. And I grabbed a different brush, grabbed some of those neutrals, and at this point I am not looking at this like a full painting or a finished painting, right? We are building something, so we got to give ourselves a break. It's not supposed to look perfect or like something. Right now it's just play, I'm responding to the colors that I have on my paper and palette. I'm going to take a minute to compare with the other palette that I worked on. I just want to see where I'm at. And by comparing, it lets me know, like, what did I like in that older palette and what do I want to create in the new? All right, so I had some Payne's Gray, Burnt Umber, and Alizarin, and I just mixed. I wanted to make a really some dark colors. And I do want that alizarin crimson to pops. And right now, let's see, sorry about this. Okay, right now, it's a lot of the same marks because the paintbrush I was using. And I need to make something stand out. So how I do that is I go really dark and then I go really light. And I'm just playing and I'll see if something happens. I'm gonna make some dark lines because I don't have that. So I'm just gonna randomly drag my paintbrush. I do like it to go all the way to the edges. I don't know, that's just my thing. Makes the painting seem like it's bigger. Okay, so it's getting a little different, right? Well, I do like this color. I want to make it even darker. So I'm filling in with these darker colors, as you can see, which it starts to change things, right? And then there I went over a luscious pink with that dark color, and then I took a pencil like I am now and carving back in so that the beautiful pink shows up underneath the dark. This is a really fun technique because it creates mystery, right? How did that happen? I don't know. And depth. And then I'm coming in and putting in some gorgeous neutrals and some really light colors. So first we get that first layer down, and then we can even, we come back in here and it's like you're coloring in, you're filling in and responding to the colors that you have there. I say cleaning up, but I think it's like making the brights brighter and the darks darker. You can see I grabbed a couple different brushes. I started to use a much tinier, thinner brush to make some different lines. I can tend to grab one brush and stick with it, but if I do that, it's not going to give me these different types of marks, which create interest. So I have a little tiny brush and I'm using thinner lines and doing lighter white pink lines to contrast with those thinner dark lines. So all of these differences just with our brushes can create interest. And now I'm going to grab my viewfinder and see if I can pick out a composition that really speaks to me. And I want to do it this size because I'm comparing it to the other hollyhock palette that I did. So it'll be fun to have the same size. And what's interesting is I'm going to choose a composition that is in a similar space as my other painting. And this technique too also allows me to see what I'd like to add or subtract. So I know that I'm going to choose this composition. Now I want to work on it a little bit more. My little viewfinder helps block everything else out and lets me look at just this little tiny painting and what this little tiny painting might need. I really do like the composition. I just want it to pop a little more. So even though sometimes we think, my goodness, haven't I been adding light and dark colors this whole time? But something happens, right? The colors dry. Acrylic paint becomes darker as it dries, and we can go back in and add more. So we can even create more lights and darks than we thought we had. And I like the eye to move around the painting, so I have this nice big chunk of lightness up at the top. I want a little bit of lightness at the bottom too, because we're creating a story with our eyes. We want our eyes to move around the painting and not get stuck in one spot. And an easy way to do that is to put that same color paint throughout the painting so your eye will move. So as I said before, this painting is for me. It's all for me, this little experiment with hollyhock, using hollyhock as an inspiration to come up with 2 different color palettes. Sometimes when we're stuck, it's like, where do we start? And that's when I go outside, look around, find something in nature that inspires me, gets me the blood flowing, makes me want to create something. So that's what happened in this case. And I'm going to cut this out, this little composition here, and I'm going to put it in my big color sketchbook I have. I have this nice big sketchbook full of different color palettes that I use for inspiration. And if you tune in to my next video, that is what I'm going to show you guys, is how my big huge color swatch book. And you could easily make one yourself. I feel like this palette definitely was inspired by that hollyhock. I really like the colors in this. Once again, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to take my free online color class, KatieO'RourkeArt.com, and reach out with any questions. Have fun painting.